and welcome to my channel. I'm Kara from KaraWoods.com. Thanks for joining me today and welcome to all my new subscribers. I'm so thrilled you're here. This is your very first video, fantastic, thank you. You'll find I've done a number of other videos on a lot of the other cards, major arcana. I've already done a series on all the court cards, but this today and what I'm working on right now is individually looking at the court cards because that's what some of the subscribers have asked me to do. So I hope you find that useful. Welcome to all my returning subscribers. Thank you so much. Thanks for staying with me. Really appreciate all your comments and thoughts and input. It's always lovely. It gives me a sense that we're connected, and I always learn lots to hear from you what it is that you're working on and what insights that you've had. So today, the Knight of Pentacles. So if you've got a stick, and it doesn't matter if you don't actually use the stick, just pull out, the card that's in relation to this one. So it might be you have a right-away version, one of the version decks, and you'll find it's a very similar image. But, like I have the mother piece, and, with all of them as well, and you'll also find that there's a card in there that has reflects the same sort of energy, and so you have a look at that and see what differences you see or what about it kind of speaks to you, and that might help you as well. But let's just look at this card. I love these cards. This is the universal weight deck because the colors are so bright and vibrant. I'm just making sure you can see that. That it really clearly indicates or shines sort of what the message is. And for me, the imagery really will and does help give you tremendous insight into the energy of the card, which is what you're reading, really. So when you do a spread, yes, what spread you use is important and can really help you in clarifying. But sometimes you might just want to pull 2 cards or 3 cards just around the energy of a moment. And it's you're asking for insight, and it's the combined energy that you're looking for. But the imagery of the card is really going to help you know what is important or what is happening. So answer your question, so to speak. And some people say to me, oh, look, I forget, and I do too, because each card, from an intellectual point of view, there's lots of detailed words and images, words and understanding and explanation around all the various parts, like, the horse and what they're wearing and the knight's, shield and, the glove and the ground, and each one has heaps. And, we all forget, or in that moment, our brain just sort of focuses on one thing and not the other. And I say, go with that, trust your intuition. I like to look at the imagery because the imagery often tells me a story, and it's the story that is helping my intuition, my sense of connection to my spiritual guides, and my own understanding will come forth. And I do find, and perhaps that's because, I am a clairvoyant, but I do find for the client or the person I'm reading for that it just is what they need to hear, or it highlights for them what it is that they're looking for. But as I said, it depends, and then you might ask yourself, is this the card of influence, and therefore is it influencing the situation? What does that mean? Or, it could be that the card has shown up is something about your, that you want an attribute that you're wanting to perhaps put more energy into, and so forth and whatnot. So the position on the spread can also help your clarification, what spread you use, how you ask a question, all those things, which I find myself regularly replying back to people. They say, what does this mean here? What does that mean? All those things are a factor. But when in doubt, look at the imagery. So if you're starting out and you're not sure, it's been a while since you picked up your cards, you're just feeling doubtful, it happens to us all, life takes over. Come back to the basics, and the basics for me is look at the card. How do you feel? What do you see? Does it inspire you? Does it challenge you? Do you have a sudden thought? Is there something that just springs into your head? Does your heart flutter? Does your throat close up? You know, pay attention to your body. And I guess I think of it a little bit like communication. You know, the body language tells you everything. How you respond to the card, which will change almost every time you look at it. Some days I look at a card and I think, and other days I go, oh my gosh, you know, wow, I never really focused on this, that, or the other before. Like today, for some reason, these little trees here, don't know if you can see them, are really saying something. This beautiful green foliage, you know, and so it's that sort of thing, you know, what is it because he has an orange glove and he is the way he's holding it, you know, the palms up, you know, that's quite significant. Think about when you've got something palm up, how very different that is than if you're grabbing something or you're clutching it. So you can just, when in doubt, sit and feel the card and open yourself up, ask for your higher self, for your sense of connection to universal spirit or whatever you call it, doesn't matter, you know, your own soul. It really doesn't, it's just words, doesn't matter. Just take a deep breath and say, what is it that this is saying to me? And then trust that. That's the other key, isn't it? Sometimes we'll draw a card like this and we'll think, oh, that's not what I expected. There's the answer. Well, what were you expecting? What is it about that expectation? So you're kind of playing with all those sort of things. That's where the gem of the answer lies. So let's just come to the basics, because everybody says to me, oh, just give me the basics. Okay, so here's the basics. Okay. The first thing to note is the stillness of this card. The horse is not galloping. You remember with our lovely Knight of Wands. Horses, gallop, 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 gallop. Movement, fast, quick. Yep. Or this lovely Knight of Cups, which we've all covered. So you haven't looked at these and you're interested, have a look at that. You know, the Knight of Cups. Oh, yep. The reflection, the gracefulness of this beautiful horse. Now, this is a solid, strong, a bit of a plodding horse. You know, I imagine it's one of those, I forget what they're called, but, you know, they pulled the carriages or they helped the farmer, you know, hoe, get the field ready and pull the hoe and, you know, it's the horse that was needed to go the long distance. So that's a key there. It's a really important key. This horse, the horse that was chosen in this imagery is really telling you something about the energy of this knight. This knight is a hard worker. This knight is dutiful. It's about action, because remember, all the knights are about action. The knight is doing the action, doing the work for the queen. It's taking the vision or the passion or the dream of that lovely page that we've looked at. And now it says, okay, got to put it into action. Action brings about the change. This is a very dutiful action. This is solid, grounded, because it's a pentacle. So it's about earth. It's the earth element. So it's solid, it's fixed, it's grounded, it's reliable, it's trustworthy. Ah, what a great, you know, this is an employee you've hired. You know, you're going to get a lot of work done. Just make sure they don't overwork or get a little too fixed in what they're doing, because that's what can happen. So think about when you're really fixated on what you're doing, you've really got a goal, you're really working hard towards it. You know, like I was cleaning the house yesterday. Oh, lovely if the old Knight of Pentacles was come along. Had a task to do, wanted to do a thorough job. I really was enjoying myself. And, you know, but I pushed a little too hard and my back's quite cranky today. You know, so sometimes with the Knight, that dedicated, that focus, that attention, that drive can that worker be, that wanting to be, show stability and strength? And can you sort of see someone in your life like that? Are you like that sometimes? What about when you're cleaning the house or doing your taxes or, balancing the books or, digging in the garden or something? Can you see that when are you in your life radiating the energy of this Knight of Pentacles? So have a look and think, okay, so when are you being earnest and, really resourceful? And when do you want to do a good job and show that you're doing a job and want to follow through on your commitments and your reliability and your work ethic, and where does that sort of shine and so forth? Because remember, with all of the court cards, it is an energy within you or it is an energy around you, because sometimes we struggle with certain energies or we struggle with certain personality traits for whatever reason, and we don't want them to come out and naturally within us. So universe sends somebody into our life to present that to us, or it could be to do with the interaction. If you're in a spread, it could be the card in the environment position. So I was telling you it's about someone in your life who's bringing this energy in. What's that about? Why is that important? So, this person, this Knight is looking ahead. Notice the eyes. The Knight is looking ahead, not looking at the Pentacle, not focused on it, but looking ahead, looking at the horizon. Is very eye on the prize, you might say, cares about doing a good job, getting the job done, wants to undertake the tasks that are necessary to bring about the success of the outcome, really has a goal in mind, is working towards it, and knows that there are steps and processes which can come across and can become quite, as I said, fixed or perhaps conservative or methodical. And all those things can be pros or cons depending on the situation and how it is being utilized and interpreted. So like with all the cards, no card is all full of goodness and no challenges. They all have goodness and opportunity, and they all have challenges. So this card has challenges as well as tremendous opportunity and goodness. So, it's like this card wants to go with the flow, but stick with the routine that is needed to get there. It's like, yes, I want to achieve this, but I'm going to stay on the path. I'm not going to wander off and go check out these hills or these trees. If I happen to walk past on my path and I see some beautiful trees and this, that, and the other, and my horse, then great. But I'm not going to just go off meandering. So that adventurous spirit of the Knight, unlike the other Knights, is not dominant here. The methodical, the steady, the approach of, being sort of a bit safe or conservative, being patient, being dedicated is more dominant. It's like, so I think of this Knight as being very industrious towards the task. No, because this energy knows that the task will bring about the success and the outcome. So it's that industrious, dutiful work ethic that is primary here versus perhaps the more adventurous side of the Knight of Wands, or the dream joy of the Knight of Cups, for example. So as I said, extremely trustworthy, reliable, fantastic employee. This is the kind of person you want to hire to come in and clean your house if you need, or come in and do your garden. That sort of thing, a very set task, just what you're looking for. The Knight reminds you of some things, like it urges you to keep your promises, keep your commitment. So when this card comes out, the opportunity lies in the fact that you will want to keep your promises. You need to keep your promises. You need to keep to your commitments. You need to remain trustworthy. You need to remain true to yourself and honorable and dutiful. So in this cards here, you're not going to have someone, trying to rip off the business, which is great. Or you're not going to have somebody, fiddling their timesheet, because this energy would never do that. They know that the importance is in being truthful and respectful. So as I said, great employee. And I think there are times in our lives when this is a really important thing. I think this is where being an honorable person shines with this this sort of energy. So when this energy, and people always ask me, do I read reversals? I think of reversals as energy that is inward. It's wanting to talk about our inward self and the reflection, to really reflect upon the energy and not the just doing something for the sake of doing it. And if we aren't being reflective, then it can get a bit shadowed or skewed. So the shadowed side of the energy. So, for example, the shadowed side of this may be showing somebody or a situation where you get a bit stubborn, or being fixed maybe isn't quite what's going to work. There might need to be some compromises, or perhaps even that inability to reflect on perhaps the need for some adventure, some willingness to get off the horse, or to maybe take the smaller fork in the road when the path divides, or at least being open to that possibility. I think that's it. It's being open to the fact that maybe you won't stay on the path in the direct form that it might appear initially, or be okay if the road does fork and you have to make a decision. This Knight might struggle a little bit with that sometimes. So because when you're in those places, you might lose sight of your own self, and therefore what can happen is, this energy, the source of this energy comes from our divine self. And if we get too out in the outer world and we lose the connection with our inner self and the balance and harmony, perhaps it is saying that we might become sort of too outwardly focused. And that can kind of lead to some challenges. So that awareness of the importance of understanding that the sense of duty and honor and being able to work hard comes to us from our connection to our divine self. And if we lose that, we get a little too far away from it, and get caught up in just the outward responsibility and feeling really kind of stuck in that outward dutiful responsibility without thought and without connection and without reflection, that might mean we kind of get a little off track. I don't know if that sort of makes sense to you. It's something I've been pondering in myself. I wrote myself some notes here. If we get too far away from the connection or the source, we might miss sight of the possible adventurous element that might be available to us and where that might lead. I guess that's what I'm trying to say. The other thing as I was talking about, I was thinking about when in your life you might come across this, and I think this can come up when you've had a very fixed role. Maybe you've been the primary carer at home and suddenly your job ends. And you're not really too sure now because, you put everything, you put your whole self, your whole identity, your whole sense of purpose and who you are and what your life is into getting up and going to this job every day. Or even just running the business every day, and suddenly that's over because for whatever reason you've walked away from that. You've retired. You've had to sell the business. You've just lost interest, and suddenly you just realize, well, who am I? And what am I doing? You know, those sort of things. Some other things I wrote down were, you know, maybe where you might be a single parent and you've spent a lot of your time at home caring for your children and the home and the productivity around that and all the tasks, and you've been really busy and you've been doing that for 10 years, and suddenly kids have left home and you've downsized, and you're kind of like, gosh, now what? You know, I'm still alive, but what am I doing? You know, so that's sort of some of those things. So I figure those really big life-changing situations is when that shadow side of this energy might appear. You know, that where we actually have to reflect how this energy is letting us know that because we've lost, or feel that we've lost that direction, that solid path, that suddenly we feel like we're floundering a bit. It doesn't need to be that if while we're on the path, we remain connected to the source of our ability to be on that path. So I was writing down that deeply grounded source of being connected to earth, the magic of that and how that fuels and feeds us, and gives us true strength. So having that inward balance, not just 100% all sort of external, which can be the shadow side of this energy, this night energy. So some of the other things I've just thought of, I wrote down a few things here. You know, that this card is deeply rooted in the moment, in the actions, in the groundedness, in moving forward, the simplicity of that, the direction of that. It's very solid, it's very reliable, it's very dependable. The task will get done. It's very focused, very practical, very determined, very dutiful, purposeful, all those lovely words that I'm sure there's, you know, hundreds more out there you can think of, that sort of slow and steady and methodical. And there's so many situations in your life when this energy will be full of opportunity for you, as well as possible challenge and lessons to be learned. You know, sometimes we run into someone like this and we feel, well, I need a bit of flexibility here, you know, and you might find you're working with somebody and flexibility will be something this night in that moment will struggle with. Or the person might be wanting to feel their way through the process. And this night's, let's just stay practical, you know, let's just get the task done and so forth and whatnot. And so that's where when you're working with someone who maybe is highlighting this Knight of Pentacles, you will want to be aware of where they're coming from and see how does that fit within the framework of what you're needing. If it's someone that you're employed to do something, give them a set task and send them on their way, and great, your task will get done. But you want to pick that, to be mindful of that. What else have I got here? So you know, there's lots about this imagery. You know, he's wearing this beautiful, you know, all the knights have on some sort of armor, which means that they have that sense of protection. And that strength, the armor gives them strength. This one is draped in the red cloth, and the horse has a lot of red on it, because it is very dynamic. It is really flowing. It does have that vibrancy, that fire component. The horse itself is black. It's very strong. It's very solid. All 4 feet are on the ground, unlike, you know, in our lovely wands, we're 2 above, and here we've got, well, literally 2 off as well. In the cups, you've got the forward foot way up, and this other one's back too. Both, I guess one's trotting and one's galloping, I don't know. Here this knight's just standing still, checking out the horizon. What's ahead of me? How am I going to get there? What's the best way to go forward? So you'll find this will come up when when someone needs to take charge of a situation, and that can be really good, you know. Sometimes in crisis situations, you need someone with the Knight of Pentacles come along and just, you know, get things moving again. Very, very useful energy like that way, because they're just looking ahead. They can, you know, getting the task done. The hope is they can remain connected to their source, because it's through the connection to source that is the strength, as we talked about. That's really important, because otherwise they're going to burn out. Right? It's a bit of a challenging side there. But, you know, like when this energy appears, if you direct it in a way that works for you, you know, that you get that job done, that you make it to the end of the task, that you allow this energy to be directed, this fiery determination of this energy to really get to a set task that you really need to get to. And yes, you've determined that this is the approach that's going to work. Fantastic. So, you know, I kind of think of this industrious energy sometimes when people get it in a reading, they go, oh, Kara's, you know, it's so just sort of straight, you know, conservative. And remember, when you're reading, look to see, as I said, how you react to it, what about the card, and where is the opportunity, and how do you need to balance that, which is why in a spread you are looking at how the other cards then interact, because it's the interaction that will help you realize how to use the best of this energy for maybe a piece of the puzzle, or for something in your toolbox to get there, or a part of the journey. And therefore you will be less likely to find yourself lost in the shadow side, where it becomes the total and only way you go about it, which can then lead you into an area where later on you've got to do a bit of unwinding and you know, sort of pull those layers back again, sort of so forth. So hope you found that useful. There's so much more about this card we could say. We could talk all day, and you know, if you don't want me to do that, leave me your thoughts and comments. How have you felt the Knight of Pentacles show up? What sort of things have happened in your life that you felt, wow, I've needed that energy and it's come along? Have you ever found that you've felt that energy be there and it maybe just hasn't quite worked for you? And did you get some insights as to why it wasn't so good for you? Yeah, let me know your thoughts, your comments. If you like the video, fantastic. Please give it a bit of a thumbs up there. If you haven't subscribed, please do. That's lovely for me. Go check out my other videos. If there's something else, another video you would like me to work on, please just clarify what that is, and I'll see if I haven't already done it. I'll add that to my list that I'm running. So most of these videos I'm making now, I've come from suggestions from my subscribers. So fabulous. So thanks a lot. Have a fantastic day, and I'll move on. And the next video I post will probably be the Queen of Pentacles, unless I get an inspiration to make some other video about something in the meantime. But I will get to the Queen, and then I'll get to the King, and then the last thing will be, I haven't done the swords and these individual court cards of the swords yet, but that's sort of in my pathway down the way. Okay, have a great day. Thanks a lot. Bye.